Ta-da!
Ta-da!
Hello, everybody.
Jazz hands.
Jazz hands. We are streaming on June 21st. Jurassic World.
Yeah.
Sorry. Before I get into that, today I'm going to be working on the Deck of Many Things card, Idiot. I will probably get bored of that very quickly and work on something Steven Universe. Maybe. And then maybe we'll have Geoff draw something.
Maybe I'll draw something.
Maybe I'll draw something.
Maybe I'll like rewrite Jurassic World on the fly and just create something
Actually,
way better.
Brad and I did that when we got home from Jurassic World, and after we were done, like after a half hour of just like, okay, here's what happens, and we just like, and you know, rewrote everything so that it's way better. At the end of it, we just sat back. We're like, man, I wish I had seen that movie.
Yeah. How many Space Marines did you put into it? I would put in at least 5.
Space Marines? There were no Space Marines in ours. We actually cut characters from Jurassic World.
It's probably fine anyways, but, you know.
Honestly, you could have just, like, videotaped a pile of dog poo for a few hours and it would have been...
gross.
A bit better than that. Slightly better. And I'm not saying, like, 100 times better, but slightly better. Hi, Zeke!
Hello.
So first of all, chat, what did you think of that movie? For all of those who have joined us already. Because I'm really interested to know who really liked it, and I'm really interested to know who I should say, maybe you shouldn't watch this stream. Because I'm going to rip it a new one.
I didn't see it, but I've heard nothing but... I've not heard anything but complaints about this movie. And honestly, I wasn't really going into it with much hope anyways. Like, the trailers didn't grab me at all. I'm already, like, kind of twice bitten on this one. It's like, oh, no, like, Jurassic Park 2 kind of sucked, and Jurassic Park 3 kind of sucked. Why would I get my hopes up for Jurassic World? You know, I learned my lesson with, like, the prequels and stuff, so...
As I was saying to Geoff before we started, the writing of Jurassic World, for the first time ever in, God, how many years has it been? Like, almost 20? I was praising the writing of Jurassic Park 2 and 3. Because they had plots that made sense, or at least was grabbing to the audience. And,
they had plots.
Well, this one kind of had a plot. It was just a really terrible one.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, wow, I was actually more gripped to the story of Jurassic Park 2 and 3 than this one. Like, I don't give a shit about any of these characters for any reason. They're all awful.
Yeah, like in terms of the Jurassic sequels, I'm in the minority of people that prefers Jurassic Park 3 to Jurassic Park 2. Like, I know a lot of people
I'm exactly equal on both of them.
See, like, I know a lot of people are like, well, you know, Jurassic Park 2 is bad, but Jurassic Park 3, holy shit. And I'm like, I would watch JP3 over JP2, mostly because, like, I don't really particularly care for Ian Malcolm as a character very much. Like, he was fun in Jurassic Park 1, but there was really no reason for him to be in Jurassic Park 2. Like, he's a mathematician, you know, they're not, like, he had, like, a specific purpose in the first Jurassic Park. Like, they explained why he was there. But in Jurassic Park 2, it kind of stretched credibility a bit. Like, he didn't seem like the person who should be there.
No, he'd be the last of the group to go back, 100%.
Yeah, exactly. Like, he was all, you know...
Why, it was more believable that Sam Neill went back.
Yeah, so Sam Neill, you know, despite his experiences, he still... you know, has devoted his life to dinosaurs. Yeah, of course he wants to go back and learn more.
I mean, he didn't want to go back, but of all the people that you would convince, it would be a paleontologist.
Exactly. And, yes, Lee Benningfield. Yes!
Yes!
William H. Macy does make terrible movies more tolerable. I met William H. Macy once. He came into my video store. He was awesome. He came into my video store while I was watching Pleasantville, and it was his big scene where he turns to color. And I was just sitting there watching, and then this voice from behind me is like, "Good movie?" And I'm like, "Yeah." And then, like, suddenly it, like, clicked in my head that's the voice from the TV, and I turned around, there's William H. Macy, and I was like, "Oh my god!" It was really exciting. You know, so I asked him, most of my questions were about what it was like to play the shoveler.
Like you do.
Like you do. In Mystery Man. Like, do you ever do any of those shoveling moves at home? Like, do you ever, like, find yourself just kind of, you know, like, you're out in the garden, no one's around, you ever just kind of, you know, do some shoveler stuff? I didn't get, like, a definite out of him, but the impression I got was that, yes, he does.
The look he gave me in disgust as he was taking his merchandise tells me.
I think, well, I mean, come on. You know, you do you think, like, you know, Ewan McGregor doesn't still do lightsaber shit at home, like with a stick or a pool cue or whatever?
All of them
Of course he does. Of course he does. I just got a new lightsaber, by the way.
Yeah?
Yeah, an old one, like the old original Power of the Force lightsaber from 82, 83. It's like this plastic one where you, like, you know those plastic tubes that you whip around and they whistle?
Yeah.
The lightsaber blade on this is much the same, so like when you swing the blade, it makes this whistling sound. So it's not quite like your row of a regular lightsaber, but for 1980s toy tech, it was pretty great. And it's got the green saber, which I was always mad to get when I was a kid, because when I was a kid here in town, at least. The only lightsaber I could find was the red-bladed lightsaber, and I didn't want to be a Sith. I wanted to be a Jedi. Mm-hmm. And, so I finally have a green lightsaber now.
Yay!
So this is very exciting. They never made a blue one. They made a yellow one, which is weird, right? Because there were no yellow lightsabers. But
I was going to say, wasn't the majority of them blue?
Yeah, exactly. Well, I mean, it happened with the original toy, too. Like, the original Luke Skywalker toy came with a yellow lightsaber that slid out of his arm. And, that doesn't make any sense, because he only ever had a blue lightsaber. There was never a yellow lightsaber in the movie.
Wait, we've gotten to Star Wars.
We've gone on to Star Wars. Oh, God, what have I done?
Jurassic Park!
Give me a minute, and I will find a way to twist things back to Star Wars.
That's chaos.
That's chaos thing. Who could have predicted that I would have just turned our discussion of Jurassic World into a discussion about Star Wars?
So, I want to bitch about Jurassic Park in a non-spoiler way, and then I want to have a good 10 minutes of spoilers for people who have seen it / don't give a shit.
I'm going to save the rest of my booze for when you get to the spoiler part.
Okay. We have more booze,
Oh, well then I'm not going to. I'm just going to get that there.
You can just hang out here for a while afterwards and be sober up.
Yeah.
So, first of all, I don't know if many of you realize this, but for some god unknown reason, they added an antagonist to this movie. So there's...
They had dinosaurs,
I know.
Dinosaurs.
But... Dinosaurs. And I know that they also kind of did that in the second one, but... arguably, in the first and second movie, the antagonist in the first movie, and I'm going to spoil Jurassic Park the original, so if you haven't seen it, oh my god, why? Like, just go see it right now. But in the first movie, arguably the antagonist is Newman, whose name in the movie I will not remember.
Nedry. Dennis Nedry.
Dennis Nedry. That's why you're here.
That's why I'm here.
That's why you're here.
He was stealing the embryos for Dobson.
Yes. But he was not trying to sabotage the park. He was just trying to get money.
Yeah.
Right? And we all know how that worked out for him. So
quite right, Q-Monster. The antagonist of the first movie is the hubris.
We all know how that works out for him.
Mm-hmm.
Not very well. But in the first one, it was the perfect storm of literally a storm.
Yeah.
And Dennis not being there when they needed him to reboot the systems.
Yeah.
Right? So, it was then man against dinosaur, and that dinosaur. I can't not say it, dinosaur. It was just, and that's how the movie went out. And as soon as Dennis was gone, there was no one who was, considered an evil character.
Yeah.
It was everybody just trying to survive and get the fuck out of there.
Yeah.
In this movie, we literally have somebody who wants the park to fail because they want to use the dinosaurs in the military.
Yeah, they want to weaponize dinosaurs. Dinosaurs.
And I believe... Dinosaurs.
Dinosaurs.
Yes, Mr. DNA did make a cameo in this one, which is fantastic.
So he does say dinosaurs?
The trivia... no, he doesn't. He's talking about frog DNA in it. I was listening for it.
Yeah.
but he's on like a little holograph thing because the park is open in this one.
Yeah, yeah.
Everybody knows that. Like, it's Jurassic World. It's open. It's been open for like 10 years.
Like I hear they're all like, oh, people are getting bored of dinosaurs.
Yeah.
Whoa!
Right, but when I was talking about this with my friends last night, I made that point. They're just like, who would get bored of dinosaurs?
Yeah.
And I'm just like, you make a good point, but it's also, at this point in time in this fictional universe, on par with, like, there are kids going to this park who have never known a world where they couldn't just go see dinosaurs.
It's true.
So, at this point, they're trying to bring in more investors for the park because they have so many dinosaurs.
Yeah, yeah.
And this is not ruining. This is just like synopsis, not spoilers.
It's got to be expensive to run.
Yeah, it's super expensive to feed them and keep the park running.
Somebody did a thing online where they broke down how much it would cost to actually do this. And it was something like in the area of like $20 billion a year to maintain and run Jurassic Park.
So even though they are still kind of profiting, it's not enough that like people are going to stay on board. And of course, those people who initially donated like $2 million to it are not going to keep donating $2 million to it.
They aren't getting crazy rich the way they thought they would.
Yeah. So they decide, or the investors / the guy who now runs the park, which is this fucking... I'm so sorry because I know he's going to see this one day. He really reminds me of Steve. Like
Steve? Like
my Steve, like my brother Steve.
Oh, hey Steve, how's it going?
I hope he's listening right now. This guy is you, like it's Steven. And he's very much like the angel investor character. And the park has been like given to him by John Hammond, who like the actor was unfortunately deceased at the time, or else it would have been him.
Yeah.
Which is unfortunate, but. This guy's like, he has so much money, he's got so much belief in this park, but like he doesn't want to hear the numbers, he just wants to hear that it's running and everything's good and John Hammond's legacy is living on. So, when he learns that like, they're not bringing in new people and they're not, doing as well as they could to wow the investors, it's we need a new dinosaur.
Let's
play God some more.
Let's mash up these dinosaurs. And see what we can come up with.
I won't spoil the like magic concoction of the new dinosaur until later when we go into spoiler mode.
I saw the toy of it.
Yeah, there's a new dinosaur. That's not a spoiler. Immediately once you know that in the movie, it's like, what could go wrong?
I'm sure it's fine. Like, come on.
And it made me appreciate the other ones where, like, at least it was the humans, like, getting themselves into an accident. Or, they tried to have a plan. But this one is just like, let's just mush a bunch of dangerous shit together and see what happens.
Yeah, what could possibly go wrong?
What could possibly go wrong? So... There's also these 2 fucking kids in it.
Oh, good. Kids, because...
Because that's what every Jurassic Park needs, apparently.
Yeah, oh, God.
I didn't mind the kids in the first one. The kids actually, like, played decent roles towards the plot.
Except when Lex is all like, this is a Unix system.
Listen, she's a hacker, okay?
She's totally a hacker. Because as all hackers know, Unix systems are totally based on GUIs. They're not,
Listen.
No command lines in that.
So there's these 2 fucking kids who, like, I can't even decide in my, like, Ash's Brainland version of Jurassic World if they even should be there. Because it seems like every piece that they gave to the plot could have been given by a random person who just, like, I thought it would have been cooler if it just had, like, 20 people who were just lost in the park after they shut it down for reasons. But the kids were just there to, like, somehow magically survive every incident that happened for some god unknown reason, and I gave them a pass in the first one, mostly because they got out of everything by the skin of their teeth. And they actually weren't put in that many situations where they didn't have an adult who was capable and knowledgeable. But they didn't in this one, and it really bothered me that they were so capable of escaping, giant beasts.
Yeah.
Giant prehistoric beasts.
Screw those kids. Dinosaur.
They also added in some extra, like, subplot that I guess was supposed to be, like, the emotional part of it, where, like, the kids' parents are going through a divorce.
Oh, just like the kids in the first Jurassic Park.
But for no reason.
Yeah.
Like, it didn't add anything. It wasn't resolved. There was just one really awkward moment where one of the kids was crying on a ride, and you're just like, this kid isn't very good at this. Like, maybe. So I found, like, all that shit that they threw at you as far as exposition in the first, like, half hour, 40 minutes of the movie. You didn't need it, because it wasn't very well pulled off. It was horribly, horribly paced. And it wasn't fucking dinosaurs, and it made me appreciate the writing in the first ones, plural, where most of the exposition came as they were, like, on their way to the island and, like, viewing dinosaurs already.
Yeah, get that shit out of the way.
Yeah.
Up front so that we can enjoy our crazy dinosaur pie.
But yeah, the villain guy, oh yeah. Also, B.D. Wong is in it, as, like, the only returning, like...
Yeah, the
cast
original
member
geneticist.
from the first one.
Yeah.
But there is one guy in it that I believe was in the third one. Fuck. He was a, like, raptor wrangler or something like that. Not Chris Pratt. But yeah, B.D. Wong's the only person in it, and, like, again, as almost everybody in the cast, there was, like, no fucking reason for him to be there. Like, no one who is hired on or, like, brought on as, like, you know, this person's gonna make a difference in this movie, who couldn't have been, like, easily replaced by someone you know.
Yeah.
Like, they were all cast horribly, in my opinion. I love Bryce Dallas Howard. I love the work that she's done in the past, but she does not suit this role at all to me, and I know she can play fear. I've seen her do it. She does not do it in this movie at all. She plays annoying and I want to hit you.
Yeah.
And Chris Pratt, I love him to bits and pieces, but I can't handle him in a super serious role. He doesn't have the grit to do it. So I couldn't take him seriously. Every single time he had some sort of, like, smart-ass line. By the way, every single, like, I don't know what you would call them, like...
Zingers?
Catchphrases?
Oh, yeah.
Were not actually catchphrases, but you could tell, like, they'd zoom in on his face, and it'd be like, well, you know what I think we need?
To go
a
faster.
Truck, or something. And it's just like, why are you zooming? Like, I'm expecting Chris Pratt to say something Chris Pratt, you know?
Yeah.
It was just really disappointing having him in that role and just not enjoying him, and I don't want to not enjoy Chris Pratt.
Yeah, exactly. All of us want to enjoy Chris Pratt.
Exactly. And I love him so much in every other role he's been in. Yeah, and there's a lot of plot shit that I'll get into a little bit later. I figure near the end maybe I'll have, like, a 10-minute period of just, like, or maybe even, like, soon. I'll have a 10-minute spoiler period where if you haven't seen it and you want to see it, mute it. Because I need to tell you guys how terrible this is. I'm not seeing what everybody's saying.
Oh, I see.
Sorry, I've gone off a tangent and I have been reading chat.
Next season at Jurassic Park, bungee jumping into a T-Rex's mouth, suitable for infants.
Oh yeah, there's baby Triceratop rides.
Yeah.
Little saddles.
Oh god. That sounds safe. I'm sure that's fine.
I mean, at this point, I'm sure they're basically just like cows, but...
See, instead of going to Jurassic World, I went to San Andreas, or The Rock versus Plate Tectonics, and it was awesome.
I should have, or gone to see Mad Max again.
Yeah. I have nothing bad to say about San Andreas. It was highly ridiculous and highly entertaining. And of course, Mad Max is just kick-ass.
Fucking amazing. By the way, I should add to this. Had I known that Jurassic World was B-movie quality, like, as ridiculous and just unenjoyable as it was, I would have had, like, I don't know, 5 drinks before I went there, and had an awesome time. But I was expecting at least the quality of writing from the third one.
Yeah.
And I did not get that.
That's upsetting that, like, it doesn't even live up to the level of quality established by Jurassic Park 3, often considered the worst Jurassic Park movie by everyone except me.
Again, like, I really think that, in my personal opinion, Jurassic Park 2 and Jurassic Park 3 are completely on par. It's unfortunate that Jurassic Park did something that hadn't been done before, and you just can't repeat that.
Yeah.
So, like, where do you go from there? And you just have to create a new plot, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, like, you can't unexperience that first viewing of just, like, holy shit, that's a fucking Brachiosaurus.
Yeah.
You know, like, you can't unsee the first time you see the T-Rex racing towards you.
Yeah.
So, like, that's a once-in-a-lifetime thing, but...
And certainly back in the day when we were kids and, CG was such a brand new thing that, you'd never seen anything like that before. Like, nowadays, CG has opened up the doors to creating so many fantastical things that never would have been able to have been filmed practically, that people are almost used to that kind of thing. They're like,
yeah.
So it's really hard to recreate that level of spectacle that makes people go, holy crap, what am I looking at?
Yeah. Also, I should say this, like, first and foremost, I know exactly where they spent their money in that movie, and it was for, like, 1 2-minute scene. And everybody's seen it in the trailers. Everybody knows the fucking Chris Pratt on a motorcycle with raptors.
Yeah, with raptors.
That scene was beautiful. Ridiculous, but beautiful. And it went into slow motion at one time, and I'm just like, oh my god, they have raptors and they're running. Yeah. It was so good. But the scenes of them, like, out in the field looking at dinosaurs, I'm like, the first movie's CG holds up to this. Mm-hmm. Like, that shouldn't happen.
Yeah. Well, CG is a funny thing, and, like, oddly enough, like, in recent years, CG has almost seemed to be getting worse.
Because there's so many companies that do it that they farm it out to the lowest bidder now.
But there's more to it than that. One of the big problems that's happening with... well, there are a number of problems, but here are the two main ones, to my mind. And I'm sure there are other people that have said this as well. First off...
Mad Max is out of theaters already? Oh, Jesus.
Possibly in some places.
Yeah. Sorry.
It's probably sticking around in others. But, first of all... color grading has become a thing, like a huge thing in movies. It started, like, one of the very first instances of color grading a film was Oh Brother, Where Art Thou, where the entire movie was kind of recolor graded into more of a sepia tone kind of thing, because the director wanted to have this kind of old-timey look, but he also wanted it to feel unreal, like you were looking at something that wasn't, absolutely realistic. Like, this was a fantasy he was telling. And ever since that, lots of movies, like practically every movie that comes out now is heavily color graded. And the problem with color grading is that it makes things look fake. And I've seen a number of shots of, like, where people have fixed the colors on movies, like Jurassic Park, for instance. I've seen side-by-side comparisons of, like, the CG of the original Jurassic Park versus the new one, and then they've reversed it so that they've color graded the old Jurassic Park to match the new one, and they've fixed the color grading on the new Jurassic Park to have a more natural looking color palette like the original. And the difference is night and day. You look at it and it's like, okay, that looks real, and this looks like, you're looking at it through dirty dishwater.
That's really unfortunate.
It is. It's kind of a cheap way to give a unified look to a movie by doing this color grading process. I don't know if that's the reason it keeps getting done, but it's become almost like par for the course in Hollywood now. There's a really good video about the color grading in Man of Steel, actually, where they say, what if Man of Steel had been in color? Mm-hmm. And, like, they've gone through and they've redone because in Man of Steel, like, if you look at the production shots, the actual Superman suit is bright blue and the cape is, like, a deep red.
Yeah.
But in the movie, it's so washed out and so gray. And the reason the costume was so bright was because they knew they were going to be doing this color grading after, and they needed the original film element to be really bright so that when they color graded it, it would still look, like blue and red, without them having to go through and do, like, a color grading pass just on Superman, which would have been expensive and, time consuming. So they've gone. I've seen like the comparisons. They go through and they redo the coloring on the movie to bump those colors back up to what they should be.
Mm-hmm.
Infinitely better, like ridiculously so. And
I don't know why they.
Yeah.
I try not to like harp too hard and just like it's not my movie, so I can't really tell them like why do you do that? I don't like it.
I've been jinxed, by the way, so I can't talk anymore. Someone has to say my name. They also have to spell it right.
Geoff.
Thanks. Q monster jinxing me.
What did he say?
Oh, we both mentioned Man of Steel
at the same time.
At the same time. My name is spelt with a G-E-O, Q monster. So we'll never be friends now.
So
I don't mean that.
Let's be best friends.
Let's never fight again. I'm sorry, Q monster. You're great. Yeah, there we go. Master Gunner. Me and Master Gunner, we're tight.
Yeah.
I assume.
So, okay. Before I go into, like, spoiler mode...
Oh, yeah.
I will say this. For the first... So, the movie's 2 hours and 5 minutes long. I would say for the first hour and 50 minutes of it, it had me on the fence 50-50 as to whether or not I liked it.
Mm-hmm.
Because the scenes that actually had plot and exposition... I was just like, fucking shoot me! Oh my god! But the scenes with the dinosaurs were okay. Mm-hmm. They were like at least Jurassic 3 quality. So I was already casting it lower than Jurassic Park 3. But, it had a couple scenes with practical effects. At least 2. Mm-hmm. Sorry, at least 3 that I can remember. One of which was really good, and one of which was really bad. Oh my god! Like, I'm really sorry that the guy that did the original practical effects for the movies passed away, because he is sorely missed. But they had me 50-50 for a while. And then the last 15 minutes of the movie happened.
Oh no.
And in the last 15 minutes of the movie, I have never simultaneously, like, needed a drink / wanted to just, like, push something sharp into my eye as I did right then. And that was the whole reason that I wish someone had warned me. Because that's when it takes the turn from, like, I guess they're trying to do something serious, to, oh my god, this is a really, really, really bad movie. Like, I'm going to start my spoiler session now.
Alright.
I'm just going to write spoilers across the screen for 1 second.
Yeah. The if anyone was wondering, the other thing that CG needs to stop doing is CG forgets that the camera needs to be real. So CG often, with CG effects, they often do things with the camera that are physically impossible. Like, because a real camera couldn't be there to do that. And people pick up on that immediately.
Yeah.
As soon as the camera has done something that it would be impossible for the camera to do, people are aware it's like that what they're watching is fake.
Yes.
It happens all the time.
So I'm going to start right now. For those of you who want to see the movie ruined for you, stop
Fingers and ears.
watching or mute.
No, don't stop watching. We need those views. Fingers and ears, everybody.
I'll erase this when we're done. You've been warned. Someone give me a sign that you've been warned.
Yeah.
Before I start.
Spoiler warnings have been received. Yes.
Ruined.
Good. Laserbeak's Fury has given us the go-ahead. Yes.
Okay.
Thank you, Busted.
So, for those of you who don't know, Chris Pratt in this movie is an ex-naval officer who apparently now has the prerequisites to become a raptor trainer. I don't know how that works. They don't explain it.
He was on Jurassic Parks and Rec.
I believe at some point during the movie they refer to him as a security specialist, which makes sense.
Yeah.
However, during the movie...
He trained Navy SEALs.
God knows how long ago...
He was a Navy SEAL trainer.
They were... Stop it. They were cooking up this hybrid dinosaur who is made from T-Rex, some random tree frog that's not the same frog from the first ones.
And man, the most dangerous species?
I wish. I really thought it was going to that, by the way.
Turns out it was man.
A cuttlefish, a random snake that can pick up thermal radiation, and Velociraptor.
Of course, why wouldn't you throw some Velociraptor in there? I mean...
right? So...
I mean, come on. Only a nervous Nelly wouldn't throw a Velociraptor in there.
So I should keep the spoilers on screen. So, not only because of said tree frog, this dinosaur can hide from thermal cameras. Because of this cuttlefish, it can change color and blend in with its background. And because of this snake, it can detect thermal radiation apparently up to 15 miles away.
He's like the fucking Predator.
So they have this dinosaur kept in a secret pen at the top of the island, and they have the park at the bottom of the island, and a bunch of dinosaurs in between.
Let's put him up at the top so he has to, like, rampage
exactly.
down through all of us. Nice.
So...
oh, man.
So...
It's like a sentient boulder from Indiana Jones.
Keeping in mind that it's no longer detected by thermal cameras.
Of course not.
It hides from the thermal cameras, keeping an eye on its thing.
Mm-hmm.
But before it does that, it scratches the walls to trick the humans into thinking that it's escaped from its cage. So then they can't see the dinosaur in its cage.
Predator, says Zombie Buffet.
And the immediate reaction is, let's go in the cage. See if it's still there.
Yeah, why not?
So they go in the cage, and of course it's still there. It eats a few people, gets out of the cage because the fucking door's still open.
Because, you know, when you go to check if it's still in the cage, the last thing you want to do is close the door behind you.
No, that's not true. They did close the door behind them.
Did they?
One of them tried to make it out and open the door, and it got out.
All right, give it a pass there.
Sorry, yeah, pass.
Pass. Hey, Buster. Sorry, I'm using your dog as a footrest.
That's fine. I do it all the time.
He loves it.
So now the dinosaurs out in the wild can hide from thermal cameras so they can't find it. It has a tracking device in it.
Oh, Lysander Gustav, tonight's topic is Jurassic World spoilers.
Yes.
Cover your ears if you haven't watched.
If you don't want it to be spoiled, mute right now. I'll give you a second for that to catch up. Well, I guess it doesn't matter because it will go at the same rate.
Sounds good, man.
So it has a tracker in its neck, which will also shock the dinosaur if it gets too close to a fence. But of course, it knows it's there because it's just that smart.
Of course, it's like the sharks in Deep Blue Sea that got smart enough to swim backwards, defying the biology that prevents them from swimming backwards.
Yep. So it sets a trap for the armed forces that are part of the park for just such an occasion.
Mm-hmm.
And rips the tracking device out from the back of its neck. How it reached back there, I have no idea.
Dennis is lazy. I'm good at reading names. Brings up a good point. It has a tracking device and they still went in the cage to check it?
Yep. So that was actually part of it during that scene. They go into the cage to check what happened before someone's like, hey, maybe we should check the tracking device. Mm-hmm. They check the tracking device and the guy's like, it's still in the cage!
The dinosaur is coming from inside the pen!
Pretty much. And so they, first, trying to be dramatic moment is, get out, it's still in there!
Oh, man.
It's so bad. It's so bad.
Why would that not occur to them until after they've already gone to the cage?
Again, another thing that I appreciate about the first three, at least there was someone there who knew how to do something. Yeah. Everyone in this movie is a fucking moron. So... Chris Pratt has already been introduced. By the way, Chris Pratt's first scene in this movie is training raptors with a dog clicker.
Oh. Okay.
Training raptors, velociraptors, with a dog clicker.
I was kind of hoping that he had his guitar and he was singing to them.
Oh, I wish. He does at one point during the movie give a little bit of just hey, I was there when they were born and they imprinted on me and that's why they follow me, blah, speech. But he still... Fucking raptors! Fuck!
Mm-hmm.
That's all the explanation you're gonna give us? Really? Alright, fine. Continue. So, Chris Pratt is, like, I guess, kind of like the dog whisperer for dinosaurs. Like, he doesn't have any real credentials, but he just seems to get them.
He just gets dinosaurs.
So he's the one being like, maybe you shouldn't, like, release this dinosaur into the open, or maybe you shouldn't do this, maybe you shouldn't keep this weird hybrid, like, monstrosity of a beast that you've created in a lab in a small cage.
The Predasaur, as the chat has been calling it.
I believe its name is the...
It's
Indominus Rex, yeah. I called it the... what did I call it? Adonis Rex when I left.
Abominus Rex.
Yeah, that's what I thought they said at some point. Abominable Rex.
I have a history of mishearing names, though.
Yeah,
you know, like in Mad Max, I thought it was Immortal Joe, not Immortan Joe.
I didn't even catch his name.
Yeah. Immortan Joe, apparently.
Who, by the way, is Toe Cutter from the first one.
I know!
Super
so
cool,
crazy,
right?
That's awesome.
Anyway, so Chris Pratt, evades him. There's these two fucking kids that are stuck. Like, I don't even want to talk about the kids because they're so insignificant to the plot. The kids are the nephews of Bryce Dallas Howard, who runs... She's the director of the park, which is the same job that John Hammond had.
Yeah.
But it's super inconsequential. So the kids, they do have a couple really, like, nostalgic, inspiring scenes where they find, like, the remnants of the old park.
Mm-hmm.
And you see, like, the room where, like, the T-Rex had its famous roar and the banners, like, all covered in crap on the floor. And you're just like, yes! And then the kid fashions a fucking torch out of the banner and a bone, which doesn't work. Like, ah!
Oy.
But you do get to see the old facility, which was kind of cool. And they do have, like, the truck that he drives out of there is the same truck that John Hammond was in the first one, which was a nice shout-out. I knew it had to be that truck because they made a big deal of, like, showing number 29 in huge letters, like, every single time they pan the camera onto it. And I'm just like, well, I guess that's one of the trucks they had. So... The dinosaur rampages through the park and starts killing for sport. And there's, like, a very touching scene, which I guess is supposed to be a copy of the Triceratops scene from the first one, where they find, like, a few dead brachiosaurs, and they have a moment where they're like,
oh gosh, these animals that we created in the lab and can just remake anytime we want have died.
And I'm going super movie snob at this point. The Brachiosaur animatronic was awful.
Oh.
It was so very obviously spray paint, like it did not capture what the Triceratops did. That Triceratops was magnificent.
Yeah. Well, I mean, there was a lot of animatronics in the original Jurassic Park. Like, a lot of people get the wrong impression that the original JP was full of CG. No, there are like 12 CG shots in that whole thing.
Yeah, no.
Like the giant, like... The T-Rex head that looks in the window or comes through, that's animatronic.
And you can tell.
The raptor that looks through the window in the kitchen, hand puppet.
And for that matter, there's a lot of animatronics in the second and third one when they, like, yes, they did have a bigger budget, but they weren't as good of movies. You'd think that they would, like, cut corners. But no, they fucking made half the dinosaurs in that.
Yeah.
But yeah, the animatronics that they use in this, like, there's one good one of the head of the actual Indominus Rex, I-Rex. I hate that it's I-Rex, too, because it reminds me of iPhone.
Well, I mean, that's exactly what they were going for, right? You know, branding.
And
Jurassic World, brought to you by Apple.
There's a decent few of the raptor heads. Only the heads, though, because they have them in these weird, like, metal contraptions to, like... I don't know if they're sedating them. They strap them with cameras at one point so you can see raptor vision.
Yeah, to keep the raptors under control, they plug them into the Matrix every night so that they can hunt.
Like you do.
Like you do.
So, okay. So, skipping ahead here.
Muppets are greater than computers, Gravity Pike. Well said.
They have this mustache-swirling villain who I have no fucking clue what his title was, his reason for being in the park. All I know is that he was somehow attached to the military and wanted to use the dinosaurs in the military, which I believe is a shout-out to the thrown-out script of a Jurassic Park sequel where there were raptor hybrids that were half, like, something and slightly robotic, and they, like, had machine guns and just, like...
I seem to remember reading something about that, like a decade ago on Ain't It Cool News.
It's, Anyway, I'm glad that didn't happen.
Yeah.
But, like, this guy really wants these raptors, and he sees Chris Pratt training them. He's just like, we can use them in the military. And Chris Pratt's all like, fuck off, they're my raptors. And that's about it. Like, that's his only purpose of being there.
Yeah.
So when shit starts hitting the fan, he calls in some more dudes to come in and take out this dinosaur, who fucking fail immediately. So then they're just like, well, we need to use the raptors. And so the scene happens.
Yeah, the motorcycle.
Chris Pratt straps fucking cameras on the raptors' heads. He has 4 velociraptors in his control, takes the hunk of flesh with the tracking device and has them sniff the scent to go find the dinosaur.
Yeah, because they're fucking bloodhounds.
Because that's how that works. And gets on his motorcycle and goes into his raptor pack and goes hunting for it. Immediately, they come across the raptor. By the way, the actual running scene, I have to say again, beautiful. Loved it.
Mm-hmm.
Would go, like, I wish that was the movie. Sit in a seat for 2 minutes, watch that, go home. They find the dinosaur immediately, and then immediately they find out that it's part velociraptor and can communicate with the other velociraptors, and immediately turns the velociraptors against everybody and kills almost everybody, except the main characters, clearly.
But Chris Pratt's got such a bond with the...
But he's got such a bond, and they immediately turn on him and try to kill him. So then he, like, fucks off, and everybody's escaping. There is one shout-out that no trivia and no, like, Jurassic Park Easter eggs has mentioned yet. During that getaway scene, they pass by that fucking sign that... what's his face?
That Nedry broke?
Yeah, that he broke.
The one that showed him the way to the dock?
They go by that sign,
nice.
And I was just like, yes!
Nedry, suck.
Yeah, no one's mentioned that yet, but the second I saw it, I'm like, yes, I know where they're going! And I really thought that they were going to go see the Dilophosaurus again, but they didn't.
Oh. You know, speaking of the raptors turning on our boy Chris Pratt, that put me in mind of, did you see How to Train Your Dragon 2?
I did.
And so you know what I'm talking about there,
because
they've essentially lifted that directly from How to Train Your Dragon 2, where there's like the big bad dragon there that can control the other dragons.
Oh, busted! Remind me about the hologram, because I have to actually give it props for that at the end.
All right,
I'll end on a high note.
We'll talk about holograms at the end.
So they lead the fucking monster thing back to... by accident, obviously. They thought they were going to kill it, but then they escaped back down to the visitor center. And they've led the fucking... I gotta keep it here, okay. They lead the dinosaur back to the visitor center. And we've got Chris Pratt, Bryce Dallas Howard, and these 2 fucking kids. And there's a moment, as they're, like, running through the visitor center, the raptors are hot on their tail. And there's a moment where they run out and they're surrounded by the 3 surviving raptors. One of the raptors got killed during the shootout.
Mm-hmm.
So Chris Pratt has this is what everybody's making fun of on the internet. He has
the
no, that's at the beginning.
That's at the beginning.
That's at the beginning where he, like, does that.
Yeah.
Okay, I have to mention that, actually. I'm sorry, I'm just gonna, like, stop drawing for a minute.
Yeah.
At the beginning, there's a scene where someone falls into the raptor tank cage.
The raptor pit.
Yes, and he goes in to stop them because he's established that he's the alpha in the group. Sort of. And he stops them from killing the guy, and then he says, close the gate, and does an Indiana Jones roll out as the raptors are going to attack him. Mm-hmm. So they establish in the movie that even though they sort of respect his authority... They would still kill him given the chance, which is why the rest of it made very little sense.
Yeah.
So, at the end, they're, like, surrounded by these raptors, and there's this scene where he says, oh, so that's how it's going to be? And he reaches out and removes the collar with the cameras from the last raptor's head, who does nothing, while the guy's touching him.
Yeah.
And they exchange a look. And it's a look of sorrow and regret as to, like, the mistakes that they've made in their life. And then the big angry dinosaur comes around, and all of a sudden they change sides again. It gets better. It gets so much better, you guys. So the raptors start attacking the big thing, and immediately that first one, who's called Blue, the one that had the collar on, the last collar on, gets, like, incapacitated, like, thrown against the wall. And so the other 2 are, like, attacking with all their might, and they're just trying to hide for their lives at this point. And this fucking kid is just like, we need more teeth. And Bryce Dallas Howard's like, more teeth, you say? He shouldn't say it like that, but I wish he did. Because it would have made the movie so much more tolerable if it was just hilarious at that point. Yeah. So she goes to the fucking T-Rex pen. And does the thing with the flare, opens the friggin' gate, leads the T-Rex, outruns the T-Rex for about 100 meters in high heels with a flare, throws the flare at the T-Rex, or at the new one, the I-Rex, and then the T-Rex and the I-Rex fight for a while. And it's okay, like, it's a pretty decent fight. But then the I-Rex is gonna, the I-Rex has the upper hand, and he's got the T-Rex on the ground, and right as he's going in for the final blow, you hear that sound from the raptor.
Yeah.
And in slow motion, the original raptor comes around the corner, running up to it, and the T-Rex and the raptor join forces, no joke, to beat the I-Rex. And the raptor's jumping off the T-Rex and, like, underneath, and they're, like, they've got this, like, buddy system going in tandem.
Did they do, like, a fist bump at the end, like a claw bump?
Just wait. So, they bloody and bruise this thing, they get it all broken, and they have it cornered. And they get it right up against the tank that's got the big monster thing from the fucking trailers. And right as it's about to make its final lunge, the big fucking monster thing takes the I-Rex and drags it below. So, now we have 4 human beings standing directly across from a T-Rex and a raptor. Everyone looks at each other, gives a nod, and goes their separate ways.
The dinosaurs? Or the people?
Everyone! When I say nod, it's more like a head tilt at each other, like yeah, we did good here.
Yeah.
Let's be on our way. By the way, that T-Rex, the original T-Rex from the first movie, got the scars from the first raptor fight and everything.
What? But how did it survive? They had the lysine contingency. There was no one there to feed it.
It ate the other dinosaurs. I don't know. Who knows? That's where I wanted to, like, just, as soon as nothing happened after that, because I was just like, okay, now humans have to get away from the dinosaurs again.
Yeah.
Nothing happened. They just went on their merry way.
The dinosaurs are just like, we're done.
I'm tired.
It's been a day.
Got a headache.
Been a day and a half.
Yeah, that's... What the fuck?
That's crazy. It sounds great.
Okay. Anyway, I can remove this now, finally, and start drawing again. Wherever the hell it is. So in conclusion...
Jurassic World was terrific, and we recommend you see it right away.
I didn't think that it was possible for a movie to make me have so much respect for the second and third scripts. Because even though, like, don't get me wrong, I enjoyed them. But I recognized that they were nowhere near the quality of the first one. And after the fact, I'm just like, no, I have a giant respect for those movies throwing their bullshit at me within the first 15 minutes and then just letting me enjoy the adventure. Instead of this one that really, really tried to capture the first one and then shit on you at the end.
Yeah.
I just...
I'm glad I went to San Andreas instead.
Yeah, I wish I had. I wish I had gone and seen Mad Max or done anything else, honestly. Why are you being an asshole? You're welcome, Sarah.
Maybe like, I'll probably see it like when it's on video or something.
Yeah, and just get rip-roaringly drunk. Like, again, if I had known it was a B movie going in, I would have had a good time. But I was so disappointed because I was expecting at least 3.
No, that's totally fair. Oh, Buster. How's it going down there, buddy?
Alright. If anybody has any questions about that, or like would like to weigh in at all, feel free. I know I just went on a fucking tangent there. Oh, actually, I'm gonna let you guys see tomorrow's comic early.
Aww. You're so good to them.
I hope you guys can read this, actually. Early comic? What? And that was a genuine concern of mine walking out of that movie.
Yeah. Don't worry too much. When I was a kid, after seeing not Top Gun, but Iron Eagle, Top Gun's redheaded stepchild, I wanted to be a fighter pilot. Luckily, my dad dissuaded me from that by letting me know that fighter pilots could die not from combat, but from just like turning the plane too fast. G-forces could render you unconscious and you'd crash. And I was like, that's
well,
dumb.
Shit.
I'm not doing that. I'm not going to die just for piloting the plane. No. So that's why I'm not a fighter pilot.
I love those moments of just like, this would be really cool, but this. Oh, well, fuck that.
Oh, fuck that. Yeah. So yeah, that if it wasn't for that speech, I would absolutely be a fighter pilot right now, no doubt.
No,
because I
believe you.
I totally had the stuff. When I was 8, I was definitely on track to be a fighter pilot.
Anyway, let's talk about something else.
Oh, so anyways, this great new lightsaber I got.
Yeah, talk about Star Wars!
Back to Star Wars, because I can do that. Speaking of Star Wars, Jake Lloyd got arrested today. Well, maybe not today. Jake Lloyd got arrested recently for leading cops on a high-speed car chase.
Busted, did they actually mention that he trained dolphins? Because I did not catch that. I heard Navy. That's it. I heard Navy about 40 times. Let you catch up. Da, 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 da.
I like these quiet
In the
moments.
meantime, you can talk about Star Wars and I'll just wait for his
I don't know much about it. All I know is that, one, Jake Lloyd got arrested for like a high-speed car chase. 2, he looks like he's gone to the dark side. Like, life is imitating art here, because clearly Jake Lloyd, he looks like a criminal now. So, there's that. Also, his head's a weird shape. But,
Also, I don't like the shape of his head.
Yeah. Because that's something worthy of our discussion, right? That's something worthy of
Absolutely.
making note of. Jake Lloyd has a weird shaped head. I don't care who knows that I think that. He grew up and his head got weird.
I don't even give a shit.
I have been watching Rebels, Balthazar. I just watched the season premiere last night. Did you see it? It was great. No spoilers, obviously, but it was great. I've really been enjoying Rebels.
What's Rebels about?
Oh, Star Wars Rebels takes place about 15 years after Revenge of the Sith. Oh. So about 4 or 5 years before New Hope. And it's kind of about the dawn of the rebellion.
Okay.
So it takes place during the Empire era. And, there are TIE fighters, there are stormtroopers. When Disney got a hold of Star Wars, they canceled Clone Wars pretty much right away, which made a lot of people mad, and I understand that, because Clone Wars was pretty good. But as far as Disney's concerned, and I understand this business move, Disney has done everything in their power to distance themselves from the prequels. Like, once they got a hold of Star Wars, they're like, yeah, you know how lots and lots of people, like, don't just not care for the prequels, but actively hate the prequels? We need to start making people remember why they love Star Wars. So let's move away from the prequel era and let's start focusing on the original trilogy era. And that's what they did. And it seems to be working for them. And also, they've got the new movies coming out, and obviously those are coming after the original trilogy era. So they're trying to refocus people. It's like, okay, prequels are done. Let's get away from the past of Star Wars and now start focusing on the future of Star Wars. So, yeah.
An admirable goal.
Yeah. Lysander, I would say Rebels is definitely worth your time. Generally speaking, for me, each episode in the first season was getting better and better. There were like a couple of missteps here and there, but on the whole, season 1 is pretty strong. Certainly the last half of season 1, each episode continually gets better and better. Yeah, Anders Geek, Disney did can the extended universe, but only the extended universe. The prequels are still official. They're just not talking about them. Like they don't.
They're trying not very.
Yeah, they're trying to draw focus away. You know, the prequels are essentially the relative that you try to ignore at a family reunion. They're there. They're part of the family. You can't say they're not. But most of the time, you're going to try to pretend that you don't know what's going on with them. A lot of people were very mad about the extended universe getting the can. I'm fine with it. I think they really had no choice if they were going to make episodes 7, 8, and 9, because you can't move forward with Star Wars movies and make them beholden to, hundreds of expanded universe novels. The universe was just getting too messy and complicated, and also most of the extended universe is pretty bad. There are only a couple of novels in the extended universe truly worthwhile. So as much as I would love to see like Grand Admiral Thrawn or Mara Jade or anything, I understand why it was necessary to leave those behind and start forging a new path for Star Wars. So hopefully it'll turn out all right. Yeah, the extended universe did get really weird near the end, Lysander. I'm not a fan of the Yuzhen Vong, which wasn't the end of the expanded universe, but the Yuzhen Vong invasion kind of signaled the end of Star Wars for me. They were essentially Cenobites in the Star Wars universe. Yeah, it's like, hey, we need to do something to like really shake up Star Wars. I know, let's add Hellraiser. No, it was these aliens from beyond the Outer Rim, and like their religion is pain, and
okay,
yeah, it's like, what? No,
why?
It's like there was an episode of Extreme Ghostbusters that used the essentially Cenobites that did a Hellraiser thing. It worked there because it's Ghostbusters. They're dealing with the supernatural and scary horror movie stuff like that. Star Wars, not so much.
Oops.
Yeah, I don't know if the Chiss technically exist anymore. Like, certainly they're capable of picking and choosing whatever they want at this stage. Like, if they want to canonify, is that a word? It's a word now.
Make it a word.
It's a word. If the current story runners of the Star Wars universe wanted to canonify the Chiss, they certainly could. But, just because they make if they were to make the Chiss canon, that wouldn't necessarily mean that Grand Admiral Thrawn becomes by extension canonized. So,
So there.
Yeah.
Oh man, it's warm in here.
Oh yeah, a whole planet as a Jedi, apparently. That was definitely stolen from DC Comics. Like that's gotta be a shout out to the Green Lantern that is an entire sentient planet, which in itself might have been a thing that was taken from Jodorowsky's Dune. Jodorowsky was a surrealist and like a crazy filmmaker, and back in the 70s he was going to make Dune. And there's a whole documentary about it, and it's insane, and you should watch it because it's amazing. And Jodorowsky's Dune is the greatest movie no one will ever see. I want to see it so badly, but it doesn't exist. Because they couldn't get the last of the money together to get it made, so it fell apart. But man, Definitely check out the documentary Jodorowsky's Dune, because it's remarkable, and it's impossible to not love this guy. Like, one, he's adorable. Like, he's in his 80s.
Yeah.
Alejandro Jodorowsky. And two, he's got so much passion for art and film. Like, listening to this guy talk about it is just a joy. Like, it's impossible not to get jazzed about it. Like, if this guy had come to me, like, if I'd been alive and an artist in the 70s and he'd come to me and pitched me Dune, I would have been like, let's go. Let's do this right now. I am on board. Because
how much do I need to prostitute myself to get this made?
Yeah, you know, like, he got Dan O'Bannon, who later went on to do Alien. Dan O'Bannon wrote and basically created Alien. Mm-hmm. And he basically, he found Dan O'Bannon, convinced him to come, and then told him to sell everything he owned and move to Paris to come make this movie. And he did! That's also where Dan O'Bannon met H.R. Giger, the guy who designed the Alien.
Is it Giger or Geiger?
It's actually pronounced Giger. I always pronounced it Geiger for the longest time, but it is Giger.
I've only ever heard it pronounced Geiger. That's good to know.
Yeah.
Now I can be a snob and be like,
actually, it's pronounced it's
I'm so happy I have glasses now, so I can do that.
Yeah, Giger is in the documentary, and he reminds me of a troll, essentially, like just like his voice and like his body and stature. He's just like he literally, his voice is like that's his voice. Sorry, Mr. Giger, who I'm sure this will get his notice at some stage.
Isn't he dead?
Oh yeah, he's dead now, isn't he?
Yeah.
I'm
sure he's watching from beyond the grave.
Yeah, he's really mad at me now. He's gonna like haunt my nightmares, and he could do it.
Yeah.
He's got nightmare fuel aplenty. Yeah, there were a lot of levels of canon way back in the day for Star Wars. Lysander, the first, the original canon levels were movies, followed by the novelizations of the movies, followed by the radio dramas of the movies, and that was it. Everything else was non-canon. Everything else kind of lived in this what-if limbo that were, you could think of them as canon so long as they didn't contradict what was in the movie, the novelization of the movie, or the radio drama of the movie. That changed in around 99 with the release of the prequels. Lucasfilm reorganized their Star Wars stuff, and they created the holocron, and they created a whole bunch of levels of canon, like A through E or F or whatever, C, like A, B, C, D, E, F, like so many different layers of canon. It got massively confusing. I don't think that the video games fit into those levels of canon because, video games being player-driven, they couldn't really... They couldn't really consider them canon because everyone's experience of them would be unique and different. Mm-hmm. Yeah. I did not hear the audio adaptations of Dark Empire or Empire's End. I did recently listen to the unabridged audiobooks of the Heir to the Empire trilogy, which are really good. The voice actor who does that is amazing. I also have the dramatized readings of all of the first three Star Wars Shakespeare, which are amazing. So listening to like The Jedi Doth Return, The Empire.
I didn't even know those existed.
Oh yeah, The Empire Striketh Back, stuff like that. It's amazing. They're actually their Attack of the Clones is just about to come out because they're books, written in play format that like Shakespeareize Star Wars.
Fantastic.
Yeah, it's amazing. They're very funny.
It's just about time for a break.
Is it time for a break?
It is time for a break.
Is it time to refill the tank?
It's time to refill the drinks and go into the room that is slightly cooler for a minute so we don't get heat stroke in here. I'm going to pick away at this, but when we get back, I might actually redraw my Amethyst sketch from a few days ago, and then we can talk about Steven Universe.
Yeah!
Even though I'm not caught up. But Geoff is here, which means I can spew about it, and Geoff will understand what I'm saying. which makes me so happy because I keep trying to spew about it on the stream. Everyone's just like, I need to watch that show.
Steven Universe is great.
It's so great. Okay, we'll see you guys in like 5 or 6 minutes.
All right, bye-bye.
I'm going to press break this time and not stop streaming like last time.
Fantastic.
Ta-da!
Nice.
And we're back.
We are. I'll get my drink out of your way.
I've calmed down. Alright, I think I'm going to try and ink Amethyst, because I like how this is working out, but...
Yeah, I like that. This guy's looking nice.
I'm going to have to...
Look at you and your talents.
I'm going to have to outline everything and make a whole bunch more sun effects, and it's going to be a whole lot of, like, playing with it and being like, no, no, no. But at least I finally came up with an idea for the idiot card. But, guess... So, I did a sketch.
I like that pearl.
Yeah, I drew that on a stream a while ago. That's original Ash.
Oh, it's original Ash.
I drew a sketch of Amethyst a while back, and I never actually like finished it. I just did it really quickly.
Nice.
I'll show you guys. So basically, I would like to do an actual inked version of that and color it properly. So I'm gonna work on that, and then if I get bored of that, I will turn it over to Geoff.
Oh. Yeah.
Who will draw whatever he wants.
Naked things.
Naked things. So many dicks. Hillary was on last week and just drew dicks. Well, she didn't just draw dicks, but she drew dicks at the end. It was fantastic.
I was actually watching a video earlier today. I don't know if you've ever watched the game Grumps or not.
I have.
Yeah.
Actually, my old roommate, Small Ian, people might know him from Desert Bus, was super addicted to Game Grumps. So, whether I liked it or not.
Small Ian, like regular-sized Rudy?
Yes, exactly. We call him Small Ian because we had Ian Dix, Ian Horner, and Ian Jasek on Desert Bus Crew. But the two Ians that we dealt with the most were Ian Horner and Ian Jasek. And Ian Horner's like 6'7".
Gotcha.
Not 6'7", but really fucking tall.
Tall, and the
other one was not as tall.
Gotcha.
So we called him Small Ian.
Small Ian.
But the first time someone said, like, well, let's just get Small Ian to do it, I was just like, I'm sorry, Simoleon?
Nice.
This is like turning into a weird, like, racist thing here now.
Anyways, what I was trying to get at was, because we were talking about dicks, Danny on Game Grumps showed a picture that he took some time ago while he was driving through Los Angeles. Someone had put up a for sale sign with a handmade Pink Panther. So it's like the Pink Panther holding the for sale sign, but whoever drew it hadn't filled in the mouth with black, and so it ended up like the Pink Panther looked like he had like just a big dick on his face. Because the Pink Panther, like, the top of his mouth is made of those two, like the round white, and then like there's the open section of his mouth, and then there's
Geoff, I would like you to sketch that out for me.
Absolutely. Swap. So yeah,
this is Mega Studio. So.
Oh, okay.
That's pen. That's pencil.
Pen will be fine. So there's our Pink Panther nose, and then he's got like these two kind of, like the cat thing here, and then the mouth is like this, and then they had done his chin. Now, if they had like put a tongue in here and filled this in, they probably would have been fine.
But they did.
But because they failed to do that, what their Pink Panther ends up looking like is this. It's like the Pink Panther just has like a big dick hanging off his face. It's like, no.
I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it.
Beautiful.
Fantastic.
For you.
Thank you.
You're welcome. So I'm glad I could share that with all of you.
Yeah.
Dicks.
This is what we live for here. So let's talk about Steven Universe.
Let's talk about Steven Universe. Now, unfortunately, Ash isn't caught up right now because they just dropped a Steven Bomb on us this past week. The Steven Bomb was 5 days of Steven Universe episodes, one every day, Monday through Friday. And now it's back on hiatus until another Steven Bomb, which apparently we're going to get in July sometime. So, no, that's all right, whatever. But this recent drop of episodes is great. So that's all I'm going to say about the most recent episodes, because I don't want to spoil it for anyone.
Okay, so who is your favorite gem and why? Right? So I always have to say Garnet.
Mm-hmm.
Not necessarily because I identify with her. I do in some regard. I don't know if it's, like, awful of myself to say, but I do consider myself a leader in a lot of situations, but, like, a very laid-back, like, stop what you're doing, stop that.
I love
stop
Garnet,
it.
and I love her relationship with Steven. Like,
Yeah.
their relationship, the two of them together, is my favorite thing in the show. One of my favorite episodes is called Garnet's Universe. It's that episode where...
it's so good.
Yeah, and it's, like, all anime style as Steven tells Garnet what he thinks her day was like. And, oh, man, like, it's adorable.
Garnet won me over in the episode. I think it's the first episode where the future vision is talked about with the snowstorm.
Yeah.
And they're calling Connie's parents to tell them that, like, they're late or they need to stay overnight. And it's just like, make up something. It's like, hello, this is Mrs. Universe. It's like the kids can't come over, like, because they're playing with
swords. Oh no, one of them died. They're both dead.
They
Don't
are
call
dead.
again.
Don't call again. And then she looks at him like blank-faced. I panicked.
Sorry, I panicked.
Yeah, so good.
It's just so great. Her delivery is fantastic. But yeah, Garnet's great. I love Garnet. But I think, honestly, my favorite gem is Steven. Like,
That's
he's
fair.
just so positive because... And one of the things I really like about the show is that here we have, these, 4 heroes... And none of them are perfect. Like, each one of them is problematic in their own way. But,
Sarah's going nuts.
We
love you, Sarah.
But I really dig that because quite often in media, especially in North America, which, we get this very kind of misogynistic, male-centric media, we don't get a lot of female representation, and so that means when you have a female in a show, that female essentially has to be perfect because they have to be the
female role.
Yeah, she's the representative for her, like, for all women. And if you give her a negative property, then it's essentially like saying that all women are like this. But when you have a show like Steven Universe, where we have a lot of women, then each one can be none of them have to be the avatar for the gender. All of them can have their own strengths and weaknesses and be more well-rounded characters. Yeah. So like,
and even though we are aware that they consider them genderless, they're referred to as she many times in the show, and they're very obviously depicted as women.
Mm-hmm. They certainly seem to self-identify as women.
Yes. But they're not human, so you can't. really call
exactly.
them women.
So like, but whatever.
Yeah.
The important thing to me is that here are these these strong women who are Steven's heroes, and he's never made to feel bad for looking up to women, and each of them is essentially also considered super beautiful, but they're all very different types as well.
Yeah.
Like Amethyst is beautiful, but she's short and she's round, and Pearl is beautiful and she's kind of skinny and slight, and Amethyst is beautiful and like she's powerful and Garnet, and she's powerful and kind of blocky and.
And I actually realized this the other day. There isn't actually one character on there that has filled that, what would you call it, like stereotypical role. Like, they haven't even added that character in. Every single woman in it does not fit the role of, like, the woman that you would see on any TV show, where it's like the perfect, hourglass figure and super good at cooking. And like, every single one of them is a different body type. I know, obviously, like, they're purple and red and everything, but, like, they're very clearly, supposed to be, like, racially different, like, in
and
a way.
all of them are voiced by...
Can you call it a different race if it's a different gen? I don't know. But, like, it's really nice because, like, it's, they take on other attributes.
Like, none of the gens are voiced by white women, for instance.
Yes.
And
well, I mean, besides, like, the sub-gems, like...
And the thing is, like... as the series starts, they're pretty much, essentially flawless. And then as the show progresses, you start to pick out the various shortcomings or whatnot of each character, where they are problematic and where they're not, what they have to work on and what they don't.
That's what kills me. For those of you that watched the stream on Tuesday when Hillary was here, I talked about Steven Universe for a while, and she mentioned that she hadn't seen it and she would like to. So after the stream ended, I showed her a few episodes, but we were so close to getting to Giant Woman and one of those first one with the feels when you really find out what happened.
When Steven Universe reveals itself to be a show of real substance and not just goofy fun.
When you find out what really happened with Rose Quartz.
Yeah. When
you figure out the relationship in between Pearl and Rose Quartz. When you find out how much Pearl doesn't actually really want to be there.
Yeah.
When you find out where Amethyst came from. When you find out Garnet's big secret.
Mm-hmm.
Those episodes, it's so unexpected, especially because of, the 8 or 9 episodes that you have to watch before that hits you.
Yeah.
It's so unexpected, it hits you so hard.
Yeah.
But in such a good way. They deal with it in such a good way. They don't have a character that does really, really, really overly destructive, dramatic stuff.
Yeah.
They deal with it the way that reasonable people would. And yes, there are some emotional outbursts, but...
Yeah.
For a reason.
Yeah, certainly. We certainly get that from Amethyst a lot, because she's clearly the youngest of the gems. She's the child of the gems, as it were. Not counting Steven, of course.
Mm-hmm.
And certainly, you start off the series and Pearl is kind of like the perfect gem, but then as the series goes on, it kind of becomes very clear that Pearl is not the perfect gem, even by a long shot. I would definitely call Pearl the most problematic of the gems.
And damaged, yeah.
Yeah. And that's really interesting, because she still gets to be a hero, and she's still, a sympathetic character, and a character that you like, despite the fact that there are aspects of her that you don't like. And certainly in this most recent batch of episodes, that does come up a little bit. We get a little bit more of we get a little bit more background on all of them. It's just such a well-made show and well-written, and it's so fun. One of the things I really like about it is, even when it gets serious and gives us the feels and stuff, it never gets so serious that it forgets to be fun.
Yeah.
Heavy stuff is happening.
And I feel like they do that a lot with music. A lot of the stuff that happened during Jailbreak episode, there's that iconic song, which I know I've talked about till I'm blue in the face, and I've made so many of my friends watch it. But I love that song because it took a situation that was fucking heartbreaking and potentially, disastrous to your feels, and gave it a fun, this is what's happening and I'm gonna fucking rock it.
Mm-hmm.
And I love it. It gives me chills to listen to it even now, because, that's the moment that I utterly fell in love with the show forever.
Dr. Loy mentioned something interesting that I actually hadn't really thought about before, but can totally see, is that the placement of the gems on their physical gems on their bodies is essentially commentary on the character of that gem. So, for instance, Pearl's gem is in her forehead, and she's the most cerebral of the group. She thinks things through the most. She's all about plans and logic. And then there's Amethyst, whose gem is in her chest. It's where we traditionally consider the heart.
Yeah.
And and she's a much more emotionally driven character. And then we've got Garnet, whose gems are in her hands. And, she's much more of the hands-on, get things done, get to work.
See, I would almost see that as, a commentary... Okay, I'm sorry. Spoilers, I guess?
Sure. Potential spoilers here.
Mute for, 1 minute. I would almost see that as a commentary on the fact that because she's a fusion, her gems are in her hand because she's made of love, and that's where you connect your hands.
Yeah,
when you're holding,
where you hold hands. That's absolutely a totally valid way to look at that as well.
Okay, unmute.
Yeah. And that's the cool thing too, is that there's a ton of ways to look at this. And Rebecca Sugar, the woman who created Steven Universe, has even said that part of what was happening when she created Steven Universe is she's always been a huge fan of animation and of overanalyzing animation. So she wanted to make a show that people could overanalyze, and sometimes they'd be right, and sometimes they wouldn't.
Have we.
So, yeah, you can unmute. That's cool. You know, it's part of the part of Steven Universe is that they actively want people to be coming up with their own theories and thinking about what's going on. And maybe sometimes we'll be right, and maybe sometimes we'll be wrong, and maybe sometimes we'll inspire them. And
like that, Steven follows his gut. Yeah. Which he totally does, especially in Hamburger Backpack. I love that.
Hamburger Backpack. Hamburger Backpack.
It's so good.
But yeah, Steven is my favorite gem because, well, one, Steven is a lot like I was as a little kid. And,
I think you mentioned that last time.
And also, Steven looks so much like I did when I was a child. Like I had thick curly hair when I was a kid, and I was super chubby as a kid. And man, I wish this show had been out when I was young, because I would not have felt. I would have felt so much better about myself and my body as a child if there had been.
I think a lot of people would have.
Absolutely. Like if this show had been out like in my formative years in the early '80s, I think maybe things would be a lot different. Who knows? But yeah, like I was a chunky. I was a chunky kid. Now I'm all like lean and slight. But yeah, I would have felt way better about myself back then if I had had a character like Steven to watch. You know, a character who was essentially me, and wasn't.
I think they made a really good choice, like making all the gems like a color, like purple or red or pink or something like that, so that they aren't like confined by race.
Yeah.
Necessarily, even though like it's kind of implied that like they're all different, right? Yeah. But if that show had been on when I was a kid, it would have made me feel a hell of a lot better to see a girl like Amethyst, where it's just like, she doesn't give a fuck, and she's bigger, like she's rounder, but she does Amethyst, fuck it. Like that kind of stuff was not on TV, and it makes me happy that we were one of the last generations that happened to, because now they're showing so many more women, so many more diverse characters, so many more different shapes and sizes, and
I don't often complain about the cartoons that we had during my youth, because I often consider a lot of them superior to like some of the stuff we get today. But certainly in terms of representation, we were just way behind.
Yeah.
And I'm super happy now to be seeing so much more in representation in the cartoons that we get these days.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because representation is huge, and certainly it's easy to take it for granted, as a white person, because, we're represented in fucking everything.
Yeah.
You can't turn your head without seeing us represented in the media everywhere. Mm-hmm. So, it's hard to understand what it must be like for somebody who doesn't see themselves represented in the media.
There was an excellent, I think I might have told you this before, there was an excellent little Tumblr post where, because if you go on Tumblr and just search Steven Universe, there's so much gorgeous fan art.
It's amazing.
Can't get enough of it. I wish I was a super rich person so I could just buy all of it. I would have it everywhere. This room would just be Steven Universe.
I'm sorry, Buster just looks really adorable right now. Buster, I guess it must be really hot. Buster is just so tuckered out over here. He's just like, oh.
He elongates himself so that the majority. I'll show you guys.
Yeah, he needs more surface area so that he can.
His head's not down anymore.
Yeah.
Usually his back legs are kicked out behind him.
You're a star.
But there was one comment on one of the fan art pieces that I saw, where I guess it was a male who was just like, would it have killed him to have just one male gem, full gem, not counting Steven, who's half human, half gem? like, you know, it really sucks because, like, I really, really like the show, but, like, there's no one like me on it, and everything else about it is so diverse and so wonderful, blah, 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 but there's no one like me. And the next comment underneath is just like, yeah, it must really suck to not see your gender portrayed in, like, all the media that you watch, huh?
Yeah, gosh.
Shitty deal.
Oh, man, that's rough. Oh, gosh.
But it's things like that that also makes me, like, check my white privilege a
Yeah.
lot.
Well,
So,
I mean,
like, there's so few shows where
Tumblr has ruined, not ruined, but, you know, has, like, before I got on Tumblr, I was ignorant to a lot of things.
Yeah.
You know, like, not willfully so, they were just things I never really thought about before. And
That being said, okay, like, I'm not trying to, like, make an excuse or, like, start any kind of, you know, war on this chat or anything, but you need to understand that Geoff and I are from this wonderful little pocket on the planet where racism was a thing that we were taught about, not a thing that we experienced.
Yeah.
So when people started educating me about how shitty other races have it, I totally did that horrible thing where I'm just like, well, I never saw it, so clearly it's not fucking happening.
Yeah.
But it totally is, and it was, like, it took me a long time, stupidly long time to be like, shit, I need to
well, I mean, hell,
my eyes.
I mean, I was certainly, like, I look back at, you know, things I said or thought in my early to mid-20s and cringe because, you know, I was dumb and just had no experience.
Yeah.
You know, like, I had no notion of, like, transgender when I was 25. So, you know, like, I didn't know anyone who was transgender. It wasn't even a thing that I really knew about. Like, the most I knew was, like, I'd heard, you know, in the media would occasionally talk about, you know, like, a man trapped in a woman's body or vice versa. And that was as close to media representation got. So, yeah, like, when I was in my, like, earlier mid-20s, you know, I was totally insensitive to what that must be like, because it wasn't anything that had ever impacted me or affected me in any way. Like, now, I know a number of transgender individuals, and, you know, I'm much...
People, yeah.
Exactly, and I'm much more cognizant of that now than I ever was back then.
Yeah, it wasn't something that we, like, ever had to deal with, so it wasn't that, like, I don't know how to word this properly, like, I don't feel at any point in my life did I ever have any kind of, like, you know, did I ever say anything or do anything racist, but I totally did not check my white privilege, because I didn't do that, therefore I assumed I was
you're not part of the problem.
From the problem.
Exactly. And, you know, it's really upsettingly easy to get into that mindset, too, because, you know, when you're not actively out there, you know, oppressing people, but because we benefit from, you know, in a multitude of small and large ways, you know, having been, you know, born white, it's, you know...
It's really easy to just not realize.
Yeah, it's so easy, and it's... Oh, man. And,
which is why I'm really, really, really happy that there's so much awareness going on the internet, and I'm so happy that it's being raised as such a big issue on Facebook and on Tumblr, because those are, you know, places that people go for all their fucking information now.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, so I'm not upset that I'm aware of these things now. You know, like, I don't feel...
Nate Valiant says those kind of thoughts keep him up at night.
Oh, yeah,
like,
absolutely.
Seriously, looking back on some of the shit you said...
so many times, like, I cringe, you know, thinking about, like, things I've thought in the past or said. And just be like, oh, God, that's not okay.
And it doesn't help that, like, our generation was definitely brought up as one of the first, like... What generation are we? Generation Me or something like that? Like,
I don't know.
Super entitled.
But certainly we were brought up, at least here, to believe that we were kind of in this post-racial world, you know, where we're enlightened now. We know that everybody is equal. But, you know, it's not the case. A lot of people aren't equal, and it's not because and it's because there's a system of oppression in place that prevents them from having the same opportunities as others. And man, so wow, this got really, really fucking deep, huh? You know, here we are.
It's important to talk about.
It is important to talk about. And, you know, it certainly, you know, we're talking about Steven Universe, which is a really progressive show. So this kind of thing was going to come up, and it's not bad. But certainly there have been times where I've been like, you know, before I got on Tumblr, I would have just, you know, had a stupid chuckle at this and then forgotten about it. And now I'm just like, oh, that's not okay.
Yeah.
You know? But I would rather be that than laughing at things that aren't okay.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
So thank you, Tumblr, for all you've done for me.
Oh, Busted, do we want to talk about race and equality in Star Wars together? Because, oh man, I don't know if I could handle it right now.
He might pop a vein.
But I will. I'll handle it. I'm super happy that
the question is, can you guys handle it?
Hey, can you guys handle me talking about Star Wars? Because here it comes. Certainly, there was a lot of talk recently when the cast list came out and the first cast pictures came out for the new Star Wars movie that there weren't a lot of women and there weren't a lot of persons of color, and some people were complaining, you know, when the first trailer came out, it was like, a black stormtrooper, blah! You know, like their tiny little brains exploded in their heads and they had to get online and piss about it. And I don't get it, man, because, like, I mean, it was so disheartening to me to see that coming from Star Wars fans, because I'm like, we're Star Wars fans. We should be better than that. We know better than that. Come on. But some Star Wars fans don't, apparently. I am super happy that Star Wars moving forward now is starting to get a lot more deeply involved.
It's MegaCynics, the show with a brain.
Yeah. It's...
Tell your friends!
Star Wars has become much more involved in representation now. Like Rebels is a good example. The main cast of Rebels, no white people. Everyone in Rebels is, you know, either, you know, a person of color, an alien, a woman, or, you know, all three. Although I will say this, initially I certainly thought that Kanan was Caucasian. And especially looking at some of the original production art for when they were trying to get Kanan's character design down, is some of the original designs, he was very clearly a person of color. And so I had mentioned on Tumblr, I was like, gosh, you know, looking at all of these pre-show versions of Kanan, it's kind of disappointing that they just went with the just another white guy. And then I was corrected that no, Kanan is not supposed to be white. And that brings up kind of an interesting tangent, because, you know, is it enough to just say that Kanan isn't white? Or, you know, like, people will say, oh, well, what, do you want him to be stereotypically this or that? It's like, well, no. But if I were a child looking at this, my instant assumption would be that he was a white guy, and part of that is white privilege, and part of that is just cultural bias, because that's what we get, you know, when we see culture, it's always white guys. But and part of it, I think, is just very sincerely that Kanan passes as white, and does that really count as a as representation? You know, like, I mean, because it's hard. I don't have the answer for that, because I'm not qualified to give an answer to that. I'm just a white guy. I can't speak to the experience of, say, a person of color who, you know,
has first-hand experience.
Yeah, has first-hand experience, or, you know, passes, which is like another thing. You know, like someone who, like, you know, like, I know Rashida Jones on...
Does she have a heart on her leg or a tear in her leggings?
I don't know. I think it's a tear. Yeah, it's a tear. Because Amethyst is messy.
I learn new things every day.
Every day, always learning.
I am drinking grapefruit soda and gin, and so is Geoff.
Cheers. But yeah, like that's almost a whole different issue. Is like there are persons of color whose skin tone is such that they pass for white, and they have an even different experience because not only do they have to deal with racial bias, but then they have to deal with people of their race who discount their experience because they can pass. They don't have to deal with it in the same way. And I don't even know what to say about that because that is just so beyond my experience. But I know, like, for instance, Rashida Jones has to put up with that because Rashida Jones can easily pass for white. Like, Rashida Jones, like, she's looks a little dark, but that, so do a lot of people.
Yeah.
Like, so... And like I saw an interview, a red carpet interview where someone said, "Oh, you look so tan. Have you just gotten back from somewhere?" And she's like, "No, I'm ethnic." Like because clearly this person had no idea.
Yeah.
So there's another thing there.
So obviously I could never relate to like that, but this is something that's like, it's a little bit like iffy to talk about on the internet, but like, I identify as bisexual. But the grand majority of people that have been partners of mine have been men. Mm-hmm. Therefore, I get flack from friends who are gay and friends who are straight for not fitting in either box.
Yeah. Bi erasure. Ain't it fun?
So it's always like, well, you can't be bisexual because you're with a dude, or like, you can't be, you can't consider yourself queer because you're always with men. And I'm like, well, it's just easier to be with men, but I just like people. So I just stopped talking about my sexuality with anybody because it was just easier.
Yeah, 'cause people have a lot of trouble.
Because I was lucky enough to usually have a partner, I didn't really think much of it because it was never really much of a struggle for me.
And there's this weird notion amongst people that just don't get it that if you're with one gender, then that means that you're now straight or gay. And it's like, no, it's not like a light switch. It doesn't switch on and off. It's like when you're with a dude, you still have attraction to women. That doesn't just disappear. But when you're with women, and conversely, when you're with women, you still have attraction to dudes. That doesn't disappear.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, I flat out just like kind of stopped talking about my sexuality with people because like it was just too fucking mind numbing to try and why should I have to explain myself?
Yeah.
So like it's not the same thing, but like even that was enough for me to get fucking annoyed with people and just be like, fuck it.
And it boggles my mind that people just require sexuality to be so black and white and, I mean...
It bothers me that, like, it seems to be, like, so much of people's business, too. Like, not everybody. I'm really, really, really lucky. Again, like, I'm gonna play that card of, like, this one little pocket on the planet that we're in, especially, like, this city, is super, 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 like, nice and accepting of, like, everybody. And it's wonderful. So we aren't exposed to a lot of bullshit that a lot of other people go through.
What's with Buster?
I don't know, he hears something,
barking at nothing.
He's too tired to get up, so he's just barking.
He can't be bothered to, like, stand up and bark, so he's literally, like, just passed out on the bed, just like... That's my Buster impression, everybody.
It's really good.
Enjoy.
I forgot what I was saying already. Like, we're in this one nice little pocket of the planet that's, we don't see what's going on, and we don't see, like, a bunch of bullshit that's going on, so we don't have to put up with it.
What's weird is, like, when I encounter racism or sexism here, and I'm just like, what's happening?
Yeah.
Because it's happened.
And the initial reaction is, you're not from here, are you?
Yeah, it's so weird. Like, some time ago, when the new Doctor got announced for Doctor Who, when it was Peter Capaldi, I made a post on Facebook mentioning that I was kind of disappointed that we were just getting another old white man as Doctor Who, and that I was kind of hoping that for this 50th anniversary year, of Doctor Who, that perhaps we would finally see a person of color as Doctor Who, or a woman as Doctor Who, or, God forbid, both as Doctor Who. You know, wouldn't that be an exciting thing to ring in the 50th anniversary year of Doctor Who with? And, you know, I suggested that, I guess, you know, the BBC was just kind of too chicken to do that. You know, they didn't want to, you know, risk their big franchise Doctor Who by doing something that just wasn't quite as, like, that was outside the norm at the time. And I got these two just, like, assholes on, like, that. I don't even know. They weren't even on my friends list. They were friends of a friend who commented on my status and therefore saw it and made their own comments. And one of them tried to explain to me that the BBC wasn't racist, and I had never said they were, because Craig Charles had been the lead of Red Dwarf, you know, in the 80s and 90s. So I'm like, oh yeah, well, you know, I mean, obviously they had a black guy on Red Dwarf in the in the 80s and 90s. So hooray, racism is solved. We did it, everybody. High fives all around. You know, it's like you're missing the point here.
Yeah.
Is that, you know, for 50 years, Doctor Who has been an old white man for the most part. You know, it's only recently that he's been a younger white man, but that's not better. You know, that's still, you know, like, we've had 50 years of us represented as the Doctor, savior of the universe. I think we can manage letting,
like, a season.
Letting, you know, a Doctor be something else. Like, personally, I was kind of hoping for I think Richard Ayoade from the Moss from the IT crowd.
Yeah,
I would have loved to have
awesome.
seen him as Doctor Who. I think that would have been amazing. But there were so many great choices available for Doctor Who. You know, I would have loved to have seen a woman as Doctor Who, and apparently the Master is a woman now. I don't know. I didn't really dig Capaldi as Doctor Who, so I haven't watched all of his run yet. Sorry, Doctor Who fans.
I've actually been meaning to do a rewatch on it.
Yeah, like, I love, like, my favorite Doctor of all time, and let me preface this by saying that I've been watching Doctor Who since the mid-'80s. I've been watching Doctor Who since before New Who happened, so, like, I'm an old-school Doctor Who fan. That said, my favorite Doctor of all time is Matt Smith. I really love Matt Smith as the Doctor. To me, he manages to encompass all of these mannerisms and things from all of the old classic Doctors while still being his own thing. And I know everybody, well, a lot of people just really love David Tennant, and I have nothing against David Tennant. He's a fine Doctor, but he's not my favorite Doctor, and he's not even, you know, in my top 3. In fact, David Tennant is my middle-of-the-road Doctor. Of the 11 Doctors that were out at the time, he was, like...
I still like Eccleston, I'm sorry.
Yeah, oh yeah, I thought Eccleston was great. So when everyone was like, oh man, you know, you've got to see Tennant, you know, he'll make you forget all about Eccleston. I was like, I don't know, Eccleston set the bar pretty high. And then I watched, and I was like, he's okay. He's no Eccleston,
yeah.
But he's okay. I love David Tennant, but his portrayal of the Doctor always reminded me of that kid in high school who everyone says is a really great actor, but is really just kind of exuberant and bombastic, you know?
Yeah.
Like
I see that, yeah.
Like old school Daffy Duck, you know? Someone who's just not afraid of embarrassing themselves, so they go out there and they do big things. But that's not acting. Now, don't get me wrong, I'm not saying that David Tennant isn't an actor. He's an excellent actor, but the way he approached the 10th Doctor just reminded me of that, you know, high school drama kid who, you know, has listened to everybody telling him that he's a great actor and thinks that acting is just going really big. So for me, Tennant was all like, oh, angst, or oh, I'm goofy and like wacky, you know, look at me be, you know, classic Daffy Duck.
Mm-hmm.
And it was always swinging from one side to the other. I rarely got, you know, degrees with Tennant. And so I liked Tennant. He was entertaining to watch. but he wasn't my favorite Doctor.
That's fair.
You know? Matt Smith was my favorite Doctor. My second favorite Doctor...
I like Matt Smith because of the darker side that you saw. Like, that was the first...
Yeah.
Like, his seasons were the first time that I actually got, like, honest to God, like, fuck. Like, this is dark
and that was the
shit.
thing that we got in Classic Who back in the day. Like, my second Doctor, like, my second favorite Doctor is the third Doctor. He's amazing. You know, and he's an old white guy.
Yeah.
But, yeah, like, I was really hoping that for the 12th Doctor, we were going to get something truly special. Mm-hmm. And we got Peter Capaldi, and nothing against Peter Capaldi. He's a fine actor. I don't particularly enjoy his Doctor, but, you know, I mean, who the hell cares, you know? If I don't want to watch Peter Capaldi as the Doctor, I have 50 goddamn years of Doctor Who that I can watch until such time as he shuffles off and we get another Doctor. Yeah, John Pertwee, the third Doctor, is great. I was also... My first Doctor, like the Doctor that I came in with, was the 7th Doctor. When I was watching Doctor Who, it was during the 7th Doctor's reign, so what was happening here is on YTV, Monday through Friday, we would get classic Doctor Who, with, like, the first Doctor is how it started, you know, the old black and whites. And then on Sundays, we would get the new episode of New Doctor Who, back when New Who was still the 7th Doctor. And I loved the 7th Doctor, because he's so weird and dark, but yeah, I don't know how to describe him, but he's great. I love him. And you've probably seen him now in The Hobbit. He's, I've had 2 drinks, which qualifies me as drunk right now.
I'm not going to one-up you on Hobbit knowledge, so...
God damn it. He's Radagast the Brown.
I was just about to say that.
You were just about to say that. Push.
Someone was going to answer.
Yeah, thank you, Laserbeak. Or Laserbeak's Fury, pardon me. So you're not actually Laserbeak, you're his Fury. Ash
oh my god, we have 8 minutes left? Jesus Christ.
Ash can attest to the fact that I rarely drink, and am therefore also rarely drunk.
But he's hilarious when he is. It's my favorite thing in the world to get Geoff drunk.
I can't speak to that, but I've had it on good authority that I am a funny drunk, because I just really like everybody when I'm drunk.
Huge tangents about Star Trek stuff.
Oh, man.
So this one time, we'll tell a quick... So, for those of you who don't know, Ash and Geoff used to be roommates.
Yeah.
For a short period of time.
Yeah, we lived together for what, like about 5 months? Roundabout?
Something like that,
4 or 5 months?
And there was one time that I discovered that if you put butter ripple schnapps into cola...
Yeah.
It's the greatest thing in the world. And we called it the Lando because it's dark and smooth.
Oh, man, it's so good. By the way, I met Billy D. Williams in April. He was a dick to me.
So, this one evening while we're drinking Landos... was also coinciding with the evening that you got the teaser of the Star Trek...
Yeah, they put out this Blu-ray teaser that had a couple episodes of Star Trek The Next Generation on Blu-ray before the official release of Season 1 on Blu-ray.
And he paused one of the episodes...
Yeah.
And was super into it, like, this is why this doesn't work. And it was the episode where the Enterprise was releasing its main, crew deck.
The saucer section was disengaging from the main drive section at Warp 9. This was Encounter at Farpoint, and I was incensed.
So he was trying to, like, this is why this won't work. And he tried to explain to me, and I was already, like, gone. Like, 3 words came out of his mouth, and I'm like, what the fuck is happening? He's like, I will show you. And he went into his room and got a model of it.
Yeah, and the technical manual.
And the technical manual for the Enterprise.
Yeah.
And explained to me, with a model and, like, paper graphs of why exactly this wouldn't work.
Yeah. I was... My main concern was that traveling at warp, the saucer would rupture the warp bubble that was surrounding the ship, and that they would just both crash into each other and explode, because the saucer section only has impulse capability. It cannot maintain warp. It doesn't have a warp drive. So as soon as it detaches, it's going to fall out of warp.
I told that story to Brad, and he asked, like, why wouldn't it work? I'm just like, I don't know. I need Geoff here.
Well, I'll go. As soon as we're done here in a couple of minutes, I'll go explain it to Brad.
Well, he's watching right now.
Yeah, don't worry, Brad. I'll give you a long explanation.
My original plan, after talking about Steven Universe and bitching about Jurassic World, was that I wanted to tell you guys stories about hilarious things that happened to Ash and Geoff when we lived together. But we only have 5 minutes left.
Well,
so.
We could talk about keys. We have a history with keys.
We have a good history with keys. So, I was living with Geoff to save up money because it was right before I moved to Los Angeles for a while, and I was basically just on a bed in the living room. We didn't actually have a room, and I was just paying a very small amount of rent so that I could save up all my money to go to Los Angeles.
Lysander, I did, but with a caveat. Some of them were okay. Some of them I felt were kind of missing the mark. Carry
on. So, because obviously the plan was a lot of traveling, there was very many occasions where Geoff had to drive me to the airport. And one of the times I had a flight at 6:30 in the morning.
Yeah, and it was after movie night, so we decided, instead of going to sleep, let's just go to Denny's.
Because you had to be there a couple hours early. Which, by the way, if you have a flight at 6:30 in the fucking morning, you do not have to be there 2 hours early.
No.
But in my head, I'm just I don't want to miss my flight.
You don't want to risk it.
So we went to Denny's, and we only had one key between the two of us, because we barely left the house, so we just traded it when we needed to.
Yeah, the security key to my building, back in the day, an ex of mine, I gave her my second security key, and she promptly lost it that very same day. And it costs $50 to replace it, so I've just never done it. So all the while we lived together, I had one security key to get into the building, but that was fine because there was always one of us home.
Yeah.
So
all I did was sit inside and draw comics, and then if he went and did something, it was during the day, and then in the evening sometimes I would go running. That's it. Anyway, so I don't know what happened. He gave me the key, and I don't know why, but I put it down somewhere. So we got back to the house
and couldn't get back into the building.
4:00 in the morning, and it was okay, open the door, Geoff. Okay, open the door, Ash.
Yeah, it's I don't have the key.
And
you've got the key.
We had to phone the building
manager. I had to phone the caretaker of the building. I had to wake him up at 4 in the morning. And he was so groggy that he thought he buzzed us in, but he didn't. So we're sitting out there waiting, and nothing happened. So finally he had to come down and open the door for us manually.
Well, it's because you called him on the phone, and he thought that you were buzzing
him.
him.
Exactly. I called him on my cell phone, and he thought he could buzz the door open, despite the fact that he was not connected to the door buzzer. I don't know. Anyways,
so it was 110% my fault, and it was probably the most embarrassed I've ever been.
Yeah.
While I was living with Geoff, it was so bad.
And also, when you moved out, somehow the keys to my storage unit got mixed up in your packing, and we never did find those.
I have no idea what happened.
Yeah,
I'll take the blame for the other one.
Yeah, we don't know what happened, but they're gone. It was over a year before I finally got a new pair of keys, or before I finally got a new key to the storage locker, because for some reason my condominium, the property management company, wouldn't give them out anymore. So I had to find somebody on
because they're jerks.
Exactly. So I had to find somebody, a neighbor, who had their storage unit on the same floor that I did. So after a year, I eventually found somebody who could get me up there. I got a copy of the key. I went up there with bolt cutters and cut the lock off my door because both keys, the key to the storage unit and the key to the lock, had all been on the same keychain. So yeah, it's all good now. I can get up there now. But for a whole year, I had no access to my storage.
I had nothing to do with it.
Nah.
That's pretty much our time. If anybody's got any last-minute questions or comments,
Pocky, bad things do happen at Denny's at 4 a.m. I've got a great story about that we'll tell you next time, because it happened before and then happened again at the same Denny's visit we're talking about.
I think I know that story.
Yeah.
But hey, look, I finished a drawing on stream, which rarely happens. So that's pretty great. as per usual, if you want to follow me on Twitter, I am at @mega_ashra, and I do a webcomic called MegaCynics. You should go read it at megacynics.com.
Yeah, for those of you who just stumbled onto this,
randomly,
without knowing about the comic.
I lure you in with the Steven Universe, and then... also, we have a Patreon going on for MegaCynics that will hopefully be funding a book very soon.
Ooh.
It's in the talks. So if you want to donate, you can go to patreon.com/MegaCynics. And you can follow the comic, or at least the comic updates, on Twitter at MegaCynics. And this is at Jeffrey Today, spelled
GeoffRey today. You know how to
did
spell...
just get tomorrow's comic.
You know how to spell today, right?
I hope so.
Good.
I
believe in you guys.
I believe in you. I give you credit for that. Yes, you did get tomorrow's comic, but you can tell your friends about it when it comes out tomorrow.
They reread well.
Yes, they do.
You could read them multiple times. You might even buy them in a book at some point, apparently.
And then you can show all your friends, and then they can follow us. That'll be great.
You're going to be rich.
Gems confirmed gateway drug. Yep. Yeah. So that's our time, guys. We will see you next Sunday. I believe Mia will be back. Mia was in Vancouver checking out her new digs.
Ooh, yeah, she's moving to Vancouver, right?
Yeah, I think in September.
I saw her on the street
Q Monster will know. But yeah, she'll be back, I believe, basically until she leaves.
Cool.
But yeah, we'll see you next week, guys. Thank you for watching.
Goodbye.